Dead Channel Duo episode's number 68. The Sonic episode.
Yep.
How you doing, Alexander?
Yeah, so originally we were supposed to cover this in 69, but we're recording a little bit later in the week. So,
I wish.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Episode 69.
Oh, well, that would be great. Yeah. There you go. All the 12-year-olds out there are giggling, which would work because that's the intended audience for the Sonic movie. But, yeah. How are you doing, Andy?
Oh, yeah.
Just fine?
Fine. I watched the Sonic movie twice. So, I had a great week.
Okay. Well, I only got to watch it once, but I wish I had watched it twice. We'll get to that a little bit later, but it's been a good week. Been busy with work. The new job is definitely going well, but it has kept me busy, and getting adjusted to that schedule has been a little bit of a challenge. I think that my previous job, having a schedule that was all over the place, like I was working overnights, I was working 4 a.m. to 1 p.m., I was working middle of the day shift sometimes, like that can kind of throw you off in general. And then now this is like a locked in 8 to 5 type job, but I'm really happy to be there. Still loving it. It's been great, and it's been a good week, you know, with my wife and seeing Sonic and Valentine's Day, and just amazing. So, oh, look at that. Andy's popping open his, well, he's going to church. Let's just put it that way. That's our code word for it. So, anyway.
What? No, I genuinely go to church. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's hilarious, dude.
What day of the week is it, Alex?
It is Saturday. We were recording this on Saturday. So, I want to apologize to the Patreon backers because you're not going to be getting this very early.
We're recording this a solid 13 hours before it comes out.
Yeah, it's not the typical way that I like things to go, but there were some things that came up for me, and it's my fault, and I take full responsibility because, you know, it's just it just is what it is, man. Like, this week has been a little bit of a challenge for me in terms of just being exhausted, is the best way I could put it. Anyway, moving on to our regular slate here. Andy, what have you been watching and playing this week?
Legends.
Wait, go ahead. Start again because you kind of lagged out there a little bit.
I played Apex Legends.
Okay.
I played WWE 2K17.
It's a good one.
Which I want to play 16, the best WWE 2K, but for some reason I can't find it. And it's not in the Xbox Game Store or anything.
Might have to pick up a used copy, man.
Oh, I'm good.
Like a physical copy.
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, okay.
Watching wise, I watched Honey Boy.
Okay.
A movie from 2019 about Shia LaBeouf's childhood. Pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I did hear about that. My
Shia
wife wants to watch that. Yeah.
And it's about how he got arrested for DUI and was forced to go to rehab, and he found out in rehab that he had PTSD about his childhood. And it's a movie about his childhood.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a love letter to his dad. And then I watched Academy Award-winning Best Picture Parasite. It's a good movie. It's great.
Never heard of it. But
it won Best Picture.
Really?
And the Oscars.
Really?
Which I was genuinely surprised that it won.
I'm surprised that I
it
haven't
was
even
like
heard of it.
Everybody all week was like, "Oh, what do you think is gonna win?" Because I'm the only person that really cares.
Mm-hmm.
And by care, I mean I just care about like movies, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, Parasite should win.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally the highest rated movie on Letterboxd and the most popular movie on Letterboxd at the same time.
Okay.
So if that says anything about how great it is.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, I didn't watch it before the Oscars, and whenever it won, I was like, oh wow, that's cool. And then I went to watch it. It's directed by Bong Joon-ho. You're probably familiar with his he made Snowpiercer, which you've probably heard of or seen. Or Okja was his other like American movie.
Heard of both. Can't say that I've watched either one though.
But a great movie, potential future DCD Film Club, maybe, I don't know. Then I watched First Love, the new 2019. Basically, most of these are 2019 movies. New movie by Takashi Miike. It's fine. Mm-hmm. It's what you expect out of his work. Watched Spongebob movie and then Sonic twice.
Sounds like a pretty good list, man. Definitely beats mine. So this week I did finish The Irishman. It took me a while to get through it just because I could really only watch it for maybe an hour. Really, honestly, just an hour at a time because my wife would generally fall asleep in the middle of, which is fine because, I mean, she works hard. She wakes up early. It's just life. That's just how it works. So, did watch that, did finish it, really loved it. I thought it was excellent. Really great performance by Pesci and De Niro and Pacino and Scorsese. It's Scorsese, he's always got something great up his sleeve.
Ray Romano
Was really good in it too. I'm glad you brought him up because I forgot to mention him, but he did have a very good performance in a supporting role. So I did finish that, and then I am about halfway through Better Call Saul season 4. They just, if I'm not mistaken, they just put season 4 on Netflix, and I love that show, but I keep forgetting to put it on my DVR list. So I have basically been running a season behind for the last few years here, but I'm a huge fan of Bob Odenkirk, going all the way back to his stand-up days and his early work on Mr. Show. Great show, by the way, worth going back and watching. But Better Call Saul, I really liked Breaking Bad. It took me a while to get into Breaking Bad. It took me actually 2 attempts to get into that show, but when I did finish it, I said to myself, this is probably one of the greatest TV shows of all time. Certainly one of the best cable TV shows of all time, but I think Better Call
series.
Yeah, and Better Call Saul. I know I'm a little bit biased because, as I said, I'm a Bob Odenkirk fan, but I actually like it a little bit more than Breaking Bad. It's a little bit more fun for me to watch, which is saying a lot because I really like it. I've been watching American Dad, a little bit of Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Been just going through the Adult Swim app at night on my smart TV, and just kind of watching episodes that I find interesting, and that's pretty much it. I feel like I'm forgetting. Oh, well, obviously Spongebob movie and the Sonic movie, and I think that's it.
According to Letterboxd, you watched The Irishman twice.
Well, I did edit my rating on it. That's why. So anyway,
yeah, but you can edit it a different way. You just logged it twice.
I know. I'm just an idiot. So anyway. As far as playing this week, I really haven't played much of anything. Just a little bit of World of Warcraft and a little bit of Madden, but not enough to really make it noteworthy whatsoever. But this week, I'm really aiming to try and play a little bit more WoW because I really haven't put enough time into that new update, at least as much as I feel like I should. And it's a really good update. It's a lot of good new free content, and I feel like it's going to be a good parlay into the next expansion, which presumably will come out, I would anticipate, next August or next September. Anyway, moving on to listener questions. We got a few this week. Basically, we just got mentioned in a few tweets, really. So the first one comes from Bobby at Cuban Slim on Twitter and Jared at Spoon Sandwich on Twitter. And they both mentioned that Rick Moranis, guest in, I believe, episode 65 or 64. Rick Moranis was here. He was kind of soft-spoken, didn't have much to say, but he was a guest. He's returning for a reboot, I guess you could call it, of the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids series. Andy, how do you feel about this? Our buddy Rick is coming back.
I wish it was for something else.
Yeah.
Then just like a meaningless reboot. That's probably gonna be awful.
I hope it's good.
It's gonna be just like The Lion King and all that.
Maybe. I guess my thing is this: as a kid,
then, like speaking of The Irishman before, Pesci comes back after decades, and he's great. He got nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah, Rick Moranis walked away from Hollywood for a very good reason, and I would encourage you to go out there and check out his story and as far as why he legitimately just walked away and said, I'm just not going to be in Hollywood right now. I might come back one day, but probably not. So it is refreshing to see him come back. I don't think he really needs the money or anything. I think he's doing this, I guess, maybe out of a passion for the series. it was certainly good to his career. I remember the movies being good as a kid. I never watched them as an adult, so I have no clue if they actually hold up or anything like that. I just remember watching them as a kid and thinking they were fun. Not like the greatest film ever, but that they were fun. I was hoping... Go ahead.
What if it was a Spaceballs remake instead?
See, that would be really cool. And then that would be cooler. But the one thing that I really was hoping was that he would make a cameo appearance in the new Ghostbusters. I don't know, maybe that will happen. I hope it does, but I doubt it. But it's good to see Rick Moranis back. Yeah. I don't know, man. I hope it's good. And I hope it works out for Rick. And I appreciate him being on the show a few weeks ago.
Director of the guy who did Captain America, the first Avenger.
Okay, so that was actually a good movie. So I'm not going to pile on
and MCU Jurassic Park 3.
Ooh, now we just went from good to bad.
But he also did Jumanji, the original.
The original was good. The remake, I'm not
October
really a fan
Sky.
of. This guy's done a few things. He did do the original Honey, I Shrunk the Kids as I'm going through his filmography. Yeah, I mean, I think it could work. I think it could be good. And I think that people will welcome him back with open arms, certainly. I think people will go watch it. I don't know if it'll be good in terms of quality, but I do think it'll do well financially. So, good story. Good story. Good to see him back. Next listener.
Maybe we'll have him on again.
I think almost certainly. I mean, he's going to be doing a PR tour for it, so I assume he'll want to come on here and talk to our 3 listeners. So, moving on to next question here. It comes from @CubanSlim on Twitter. This is an interesting one. I really want to get Andy's take on this one.
Oh!
What was that?
You spilled my Four Loko everywhere.
Oh, no. Oh, God. You'll never get rid of the stickiness. Okay, so Andy's going to mute for a little bit. He's also going to, if you're watching the video version, he's turned the webcam off, and Teddy Long of WWE fame is his avatar on Discord, so you get to see Teddy Long go face The Undertaker tonight. So anyway, Bobby's question, I'll try to carry the show here, is... Do you see the NFL possibly considering the kickoff rules that the XFL debuted this past weekend? The reaction to it thus far has been very positive. So, it's interesting that Bobby brings this up. And thank you, Bobby and Jared, for the listener questions this week. I really appreciate it. I'm sure Andy does too, but he's cleaning Four Loko at the moment. So, yeah, I actually really like the kickoff rules that the XFL is implementing. I like two rule changes that really stuck out to me that the XFL debuted this past weekend that I thought the NFL could certainly look at and maybe do something similar, or maybe just straight up rip it off. Because, I mean, you could. It's not trademarked or anything. So the extra point rules, getting rid of extra point kicks, and having, look at that, Andy's back. Having 1-point conversions, 2-point conversions, and 3-point conversions, I think added a lot of fun to the offensive, action, if you will, in the XFL. I really like that. But the kickoff rules in particular were fun for me because, one, I felt like it made the kickoff more exciting than it is currently in the NFL. Right now in the NFL, there's a lot of touchbacks. Probably more touchbacks than ever before in the NFL. Secondly, I also think that from a player safety perspective, the kickoff looked way safer than what I see every Sunday on the NFL in terms of blocking and guys running down the field 40 yards at full speed and hitting each other. It's like a car crash, So I think the NFL should certainly look at something similar to what the XFL is doing with kickoffs for 2 reasons. One, I think it would be just as exciting as the current kickoff, if not more so. Secondly, I think that it would be way safer for the players. And I know some people will say, those special teams players, they're usually specialists, right, that only play special teams, and you might be kind of doing them a disservice. But I think at the end of the day, if you really truly care about player safety and keeping the game still exciting at the same time, it would be a valuable thing to look into in terms of adopting that kickoff rule. Andy, how do you feel about the kickoff rules in the XFL?
I don't even know. I've paid attention, so.
Well, I would encourage you to look it up. It's a pretty.
But what about tradition, Alex?
Fair enough. I don't really have.
What about tradition? You're changing the whole game. All these kids are gonna ruin the sport.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair. My retort to that would be, we've made all of these rule changes for player safety reasons, generally speaking. So if we're doing something for player, well, okay, then okay. So you want to talk about baseball? They've put in stiffer penalties for intentionally hitting batters as a pitcher, right? And this was all done in the name of player safety. Now, some people would say, hey, you're getting rid of the tradition of you being my guy, I'm going to bean your guy, that kind of nonsense. But I think we can both agree that it's better for the game that guys aren't getting fastballs chucked at their head at 90 miles an hour, because some pitchers, they throw at the, oh, well, that's fine. You know what? That's fine. We're going to argue more about the MLB later and tradition and how that all factors in. But as far as these changes to the rules, by the way, kickoff rules changed very recently in the NFL over the last really 10 years. So they've made little tinkering changes here and there. I wouldn't mind them kind of just doing this. I think it's really the best happy medium that you can get without completely ditching player safety. But again, thank you to Bobby and Jared for the listener question. So moving on to our next topic. This is one that I wanted to get Andy's take. Hopefully he'll have more thoughts on this than the XFL topic. But the PlayStation 5 it was reported by Bloomberg today, a very reliable news source for anything business. It was reported that Sony's kind of struggling with the idea of where to price this PS5. I'm sorry, if I said PS4, I apologize. But the PlayStation 5 that's coming out this holiday season, hopefully, barring any kind of production issues caused by coronavirus, they're saying it might be as high as $499.99 in US dollars. And that currently, to make a PlayStation 5, it's costing $449 in US dollars. So, Andy, how would you feel about the next round of consoles coming out at $500?
That's what they were last time.
No.
Xbox One is $499 release day.
Well, yeah, because they put that stupid Kinect in there, but the PlayStation 4 was $399.
It's not really that much of a difference, though.
What, $100?
Yeah.
That's fair.
$100 for something that you're going to sink countless hours into and play for the next 8 years.
See, now you're a really good salesperson to say that. So first off, Sony's apparent strategy right now is to kind of be more reactive to what Microsoft does. Apparently, they're thinking about looking at what the Xbox Series X drops at in terms of pricing, and then kind of basing the PlayStation 5 pricing around that, which I guess you could say might lead to them selling the console at a loss, which, by the way, is kind of...
That's genuinely what consoles do, though.
Yeah, that's typically not...
You don't make your money off hardware, you make money off software.
Yeah, that's not an unknown or an uncommon practice by anybody other than Nintendo. Nintendo generally tries not to do that, but...
Tradition.
Nintendo,
the traditional company.
Well, they have like a very unique way of looking at hardware, and I think it's actually kind of a smart way of looking at it. Yeah, it does work. So, I mean, I don't know that I would want to be reactive, but at the same time, that reactive approach has worked for the PlayStation brand in the past, specifically surrounding the PlayStation 1 and Sega Saturn, if you remember that old thing. But I don't think $499 is too much of a stretch. I know some people have kind of balked at that I've talked to in my inner circle, friends of mine. I'm not going to pay $500 for a console, but, here's the thing. The hardware they're putting in these machines now is unbelievable. And then when you look at the Xbox One X, right now it's on sale for $349. And the Xbox Series X is going to have significantly better hardware than the Xbox One X. And I know there's some serious hardware in that $350 Xbox One X. So if they're going to pack an even bigger punch in the Series X, I could see it being $499. Same thing with the PlayStation 5. It's got apparently a very similar architecture. And they want to work on a really top-of-the-line cooling system for the PlayStation 5. So with that, it's going to be 500. I think 500's really top of the mark, though. I think if you go past that, it's going to get ridiculous. It's going to be like PlayStation 3 when it launched at 600. It just doesn't work.
I just think it's reasonable.
I think 500 is reasonable. I think 399 is very optimistic. And I think 449...
if you want to go to another devil's advocate, what are you going to do? Get a gaming PC? Have fun.
You're going to spend more than... You're going to spend more than $500
getting a good gaming PC with $500.
You could get by, but it's not going to be pretty, and it's going to be hard. You're going to have to buy a lot of stuff used. It's going to be tough to build a rig for $500.
Raspberry Pi running WoW.
Raspberry Pi running. I mean, it ran it, but it didn't run it well. So, but yeah, I think that, and then I think there's like this weird world where maybe it sells at $449, like the Xbox One X. For a long time was actually selling for $449.99, and it was pretty successful, and I could totally see that being like the happy medium, but I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. I know I'm going to be an Xbox guy day one. PS5, I don't know if I can really stretch myself that far, because I kind of want to get an Xbox One, or I'm sorry, an Xbox Series X. I want to get one of those for really every room in my house, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that, much less buy a PS5. Anyway, moving on to something that we've been looking forward to covering. Well, I've been looking forward to covering for quite some time here, and that's Sonic the Hedgehog.
Not going to focus.
The movie came out this Valentine's Day, and you guys know I've been looking forward to this since it was really announced, before even the first trailer. And we talked about the redesign and the original design and everything in between. But it's finally out. Did get a chance to see it this weekend with my wife. And Andy has apparently seen it twice. So I will
I'll show you my tickets.
Well, no,
I watched it at 4:55 and I watched it at 8:30.
So I said apparently... and I didn't mean to say it like in an accusatory way. I meant to say it in a, like, apparently Andy did see it twice. Like, that's kind of shocking to me. Like, but hey, there you go. So, Andy, I'll let you lead off. How did you feel about Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie?
That's your movie, man. Why do I have to lead off? It's made for you.
Okay, I'll lead off. So, let's see. I know I'm biased. I want to start that off right off the bat. I know I'm biased. I know everybody's going to call me, but I'm wearing a friggin' Eggman Enterprises shirt. Like, come on. Like, I'm a Sonic fan. Everybody knows that. So, take that for what you will.
Oh, yeah? Why is Mario in the background?
I have a little, there's a little Sonic plush that Ashley got me. I don't even remember what it was for. Might have been Christmas. But anyway, yeah, I have that behind me. I just don't have it in the webcam. But anyway, yeah, I was looking forward to this for a long time. I was going to see it day one before the redesign. Definitely going to see it day one after the redesign. So I know it's a kids movie and it's aimed at children. So I think that's really important to take into account. This isn't going to be something that's going to be nominated for an Academy Award or anything like that. What I was hoping for is that it was something, my expectation and my hope and desire for this movie was that, one, it would be entertaining for both adults and kids, because most people that I saw going had a kid with them. And then my second hope was that it would be good enough to kind of keep Sonic going for the next generation of children who will presumably buy the games, watch TV shows, if TV shows come out, or maybe a sequel for the film, things like that, to give it to that next generation where they're going to carry it on and become Sonic fans themselves. So I loved it. I think it nailed both of those two major desires that I had for this movie going in. It was really funny. I laughed a lot. You know, it's totally my type of humor. You know, it really felt like the same type of humor that you would see in the Sonic cartoons and even some of the Sonic comic books, where, you know, there would be those lighthearted moments to kind of break up the action and keep you entertained, keep you invested. Sonic felt kind of exactly what Sonic's supposed to be like a little mischievous, serious when he needs to be serious, but he can also be kind of like tongue-in-cheek and mess with Eggman and like get under his skin and kind of troll him a little bit. Like, that's the spirit of Sonic if you watch the cartoons and read the comics and all that. For the most part, that's kind of how they portray the character. And I felt like they really encapsulated that and nailed it. It was just really well done. Voice acting was terrific. Ben Schwartz did an amazing job as Sonic. I really loved his voice acting. Jim Carrey, oh my God, he really brought I was kind of like leery when he was announced. I'm like, I can't really see him as Robotnik. I don't know how that's gonna work. And I was hoping that they'd let him kind of do his own thing with the role. And it seems pretty clear that they did. They let him kind of, it seems like they let him put his own little spin on it. And it felt very Jim Carrey, but it also still felt Robotnik. And towards the end, it really felt Eggman-like. And I loved it. I really loved it. It was really well done and executed. And for a movie that's aimed at kids, I think it was written well. Special effects were great. CGI looked great to me. I have no complaints about the Sonic design. I know some people have been a little bit critical of them going and doing the redesign and saying that it kind of enables or validates people who whined about the original design. And I'm 100% with you. I don't like the people who were whining about the original design, because I thought the original design was pretty good. But sometimes in life, you get what some people would call like a happy mistake, right? And all of that cynicism and criticism and people the massive dislike ratio on the trailer when it came out, it led to a redesign that I think really just nailed the Sonic character. And I'm kind of glad that they did do the redesign in retrospect. And to do that delay that they did, it was a 3-month delay. To delay a film for 3 months to do a redesign, one, that was expensive. Two, it was risky, because there was a chance that even with the redesign, people weren't going to go see it. And people did go see it, and it has been beating box office projections. So it seems to me like it was the right thing to do in retrospect, using hindsight, with hindsight being 2020. So I love the current design. It is better than the original design. I know some people might disagree with me on that, but go back, listen to what I said about the original design. I like that one too. I didn't hate on it, but we got a better Sonic movie. We got a better Sonic movie because of that delay, and I couldn't be happier. I'm not gonna lie, I got a little bit emotional when the movie was over. It was like I was so happy that this thing happened, and it was good, and it was everything I could have asked for as a Sonic fan. And my wife loved it, if you're wondering, loved it. We're buying the Blu-ray day one. I hope they come out with a steelbook. I will buy the steelbook 100%. And
I want the OG cut. I'm gonna play on Twitter forever until they release it.
Well, they're not going to release that. That's never going to see the light of day. I think they actually took down the original official trailer, and somebody has re-uploaded it to YouTube. If I'm not mistaken, I'd have to go back and verify. But I did want to go back and look at it just to kind of compare before this podcast, before we recorded it. And I couldn't find the official one from Paramount.
Mandela effect. Never existed.
Mandela effect.
There was no redesign.
Mandela effect confirmed. So, but yeah, my wife loved it. I loved it. Can't wait to buy it on Blu-ray. And I would ask every single person listening to this podcast, all 6 people that ever listen to this podcast,
hey,
if you like Sonic at all, go see it, support it, and support those artists that worked really hard on it and did the redesign as well. Those artists worked really hard on that redesign. They brought in people from the outside. They brought in an artist that worked on Sonic Mania to come in and work as an advisor on the redesign. And those artists worked really hard for 3 months to give us the final product. So support them, buy a ticket, take a friend, or buy the Blu-ray when it comes out, or both. So Andy, how did you feel about Sonic?
I'm gonna show my notes real fast.
Holy crap. Look at these notes. If you're watching the video version, it looks like about 2 pages, maybe 3 pages of notes.
There's a lot of spoilers in there too that I won't mention.
Okay.
So I'll start this off with, "Yup, this is me. You're probably wondering how I got here." That's the opening of the movie. Spoiler.
Okay.
The most generic thing ever. It's been parodied to bits. And I don't know. Whenever that started, I was like, oh God, what did I sign myself up for? And then there's the opening bit where he's actually in the Green Hill Zone. And it goes by super fast. And there's like the first 5 minutes of the movie, it tells you everything in 4 seconds. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? And then I don't know. Jim Carrey eventually shows up. Jim Carrey plays Jim Carrey in every Jim Carrey role. Not really. He plays 1994 Jim Carrey. Whenever Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, and what's the other Jim Carrey popular movie? The Mask. They all came out in 94.
Wow, I didn't know that. I thought they may have been a year or two apart, but
no,
okay.
all came out in the same year.
Oh, wow.
So to get away from spoilers, by the way. So this movie is the most generic cookie cutter movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
Okay.
Pretty much hits every note you ever seen before.
All right.
Let's see. Sonic getting mistaken for a terrorist. Slight spoiler, but you would get it, from the trailer.
Okay.
There's generic old music that the adults are like, oh, I remember the song. It plays Queen, plays the Ramones, plays Coolio's Gangster Paradise.
Mm-hmm.
It has the "we don't like your kind in these parts" bit that's in everything. And then Robotnik is hired by the big bad government, the biggest bad people in the world. Which I don't know Sonic background, but I'm pretty sure that's not a thing. Is that a thing? Or is that just made up for this movie?
Yeah, so I'm sure somebody's going to be an actually guy and be like, actually, in Sonic 341 from the Archie run, generally speaking, the way Sonic is framed up is Sonic lives in his own universe, original Green Hill Zone that they show.
That kind of annoyed me. The Green Hill Zone in the whole movie, the town's called Green Hills.
Yeah, I know,
not
dude,
Green Hill.
Okay, whatever. You're really I get it. There's lots of tropes in this film, but yeah, Sonic lives in his own universe, and in that universe, Robotnik is this evil sort of evil guy who has his own company, and he's trying to make money by polluting and doing nefarious things, and yeah.
Humor, you spoke about it.
Yeah.
Reference humor. The whole movie is just reference humor. It's just uninspired, unoriginal. Hey, this thing. Ha 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 ha. Funny.
Wow.
That's pretty much all the humor in the movie.
I would disagree, but okay.
That when I first watched it, I swear I heard a song whenever the robots first appear, Dr. Robotnik's robots.
Mm-hmm.
Also, don't know if it's a thing from the original. I never played Sonic games so much.
It definitely is. He has he takes organic beings like animals, or even in the Sonic cartoon, Sonic's Uncle Chuck gets turned into a friggin' robot, dude. It's freaky. It's pretty dark for what was a kid's cartoon.
Yeah.
So yeah, Robotnik does that. He works with cybernetics and stuff.
So I swear I heard the song Ride of the Valkyries, which you might know the song by name. It's a super popular song.
No, I definitely know Ride of the Valkyries.
Dun, dun, dun,
yeah.
dun, 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 dun. I swear I heard that the first time I saw the movie, the second time I saw the movie. Apparently I just made that up in my head.
Yeah.
Which is it's just like a funny note. Like, I swear it was in the movie. The second time I watched it, it was like, oh, it's not here. And
Mandela
then
effect.
I was even like, oh, maybe the second time I just didn't catch it.
Yeah.
So I illegally streamed the movie. and I tried to find the song. It doesn't exist.
I can't even
I
get
just
mad.
made it up.
I can't
in
even
my
get
head.
mad. Like, usually I'd be like, shame on you for illegally streaming this movie, but you went and saw it in theaters twice.
I went and saw it twice.
you can
then
stream it. Who cares?
I swear to God, the song was in there the first time I watched it, and I was like, "Oh man, it's the song from Rango, and it's in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas."
Yeah.
And then I looked it up and it wasn't there. There's blatant ads in the movie constantly.
Yeah, there were a few.
Zillow ad, Toyota Tacoma ad. Olive Garden is the big one that everyone's gonna be talking about.
There was one that I saw. It was not one of those three, but it was some company that I saw like a billboard in the background on one shot, and I'm like, wow, like that's kind of random that's there.
There's also like I think a Corona ad in there too.
Yes, there was. Yeah.
But the Olive Garden one's the most blatant, just cheap thing ever made. There's a lot of dumb stuff that goes in this movie and a lot of plot holes that I can point out. So there's an EMP in the movie. I won't spoil how the EMP happens, but phones still work despite there an EMP happening.
Yeah.
There's a small dog door in the main character's house, but he has a golden retriever that wouldn't fit through a small door hole.
Okay.
At one point, Tom gets out of the truck to walk around to the shotgun side of the truck to tell Sonic that he's going to go use a payphone. And that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
All right.
It has the generic running fast slow motion scene that's in every movie ever, but I won't spoil it. There's a continuity error between the two on how this effect works and how the first way it happens, it works one way, and the second time it happens, it works a different way. He flosses twice.
Okay.
Haha, Fortnite dances. Haha, Fortnite. Yeah, the movie's pretty stupid. There's a bunch of... There's a thing that I discovered through the Joker and the movie Funny Games. It's digenesis.
Yeah.
It's there's two different types of digenesis. Digenesis is like music in the movie that the character can hear. And then non-digenesis is movie like Avengers, like big scene, it plays like the epic music. The characters can't hear that music. That's non-digenesis.
All right.
There's a point where Dr. Robotnik is dancing with headphones on, and then the headphones fall off, but he's still dancing to the music and singing along. They completely took me out of the movie. Then I was like, well, maybe it's because he's crazy and the music's just in his head. And I kind of like later on kind of convinced myself that maybe it's just because he's crazy.
Okay.
There's the nicknames in the movie. He calls the main character Donut Lord and his wife Pretzel Lady or Pretzel Woman, Pretzel Girl, something like that.
Yeah.
Which is just a shoehorn in way to eventually call Dr. Robotnik Eggman and make it make sense for people that aren't aware of the Sonic universe.
So I thought that was clever, but okay.
The Sonic meme is in it, which I gotta laugh out of that. I will say, but which I thought you would appreciate too, because they put like a Sasquatch crazy person in the movie, And that's you. You're a Sasquatch crazy person.
I mean, I laughed a lot. I mean, like, that was good. It made me laugh. It was fun.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, like, everybody else was laughing in the theater, and kids were losing their minds, dude. Like, they were real. Like,
Hey, I'm not finished yet.
Oh, okay.
Before you start talking smack.
I'm not talking smack. You're talking smack.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Music is generic. They don't make any. Music is generic. Script is generic. CGI looked good at times, even great at times. Then there's times where it looks awful. It's a complete cash grab attempt at making an uninspired, unoriginal movie. And then my last point is pacing was actually pretty good. I thought at the beginning, when he was doing the backstory bit, it went a little bit too fast. And then it just turned into a normal movie, and the pacing kept it from being a boring movie. 4 out of 10, okay movie.
Whatever, get out of here with that. Hey man, I figured we were gonna disagree on this one, and that's fine, and I totally get it. I guess, again, I go in with a lot of bias. I don't think that I'm the person to talk to about the Sonic movie, because I was a day one customer, and it could have been a big steamy turd, on a movie screen for an hour and a half, and I probably would have still bought a ticket if it said Sonic on it, just because that's just who I am. So, I get it, but I guess what really got me, part of what made me so, and in a good way, like emotional, like really just overly happy that this came to fruition, is seeing children's reactions in the movie. Like, because I was sitting in the middle of the theater, and like, it's kind of a bright movie, so you could kind of see people's faces if you look around, and these kids were just like, they were loving it, man. They were, at the end, they were cheering and stuff, like clapping, and I'm like, that's just really heartwarming to see that. Like, a whole new generation is getting to experience Sonic and enjoy it. And then, like, a lot of the parents were like laughing and having a good time with it too. So it's like, even older people, who may have played the games when they were a kid, like, they liked it too. And I think that's a wonderful thing. And is it full of tropes and plot holes, and it's not really anything that's, going to win any awards? Sure, but it's good for what it tried to. It's good for what it tried to be.
Green Book was a road trip movie. It won Best Picture. Sonic's road trip movie.
No,
Best Picture.
Just hear me out here, man. I look at this and I go, it's basically like Detective Pikachu. It's fan service. It's fan service at the core. And that's who the audience is. And then the secondary audience is kids who may not be a fan yet of the franchise. And maybe they do check it out. And maybe they do like it. And then maybe they do jump on the bandwagon and become a fan of the series. So, I don't know, man. I really liked it. I enjoyed it. I'm sticking to my guns.
I watched it with people.
I'm sticking to my guns. I gave it 7 out of 10.
Yeah, Man of Steel 7 out of 10 too.
Man of Steel's good. Man
I
of
watched it
Steel's
with people.
good.
And of note, Drake, former guest.
Yep.
Gave it a 9 out of 10.
I mean, like, when I give it a 7 out of 10, I'm trying to look at it as objectively as possible. Like, if it was Alex's world only and my opinion only, and I'm allowed to put my bias in there, for me, it's a home run. It's a 10 out of 10. I mean, but I realize it does have flaws, and there are a lot of tropes, and there are some very topical jokes that I don't know if they're going to age very well. But
at one point, whenever he was like, coronavirus.
That didn't happen. So,
there is a joke that's like a modern joke, but I don't remember what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it'll necessarily age well in terms of the humor, but I think overall this was a really good, and I think it left the door open for a sequel, and I think we could see a sequel.
Yeah, bro, we're starting with the SCU or the Suku, the Sega Cinematic Universe and the Sonic Universe Cinematic Universe.
Exactly.
We're gonna get a Knuckles movie, a Shadow movie, and then in like a couple years we're gonna get a Eggman movie. It's gonna be dark and gritty, directed by.
It's gonna be dark and gritty.
Directed by Todd Phillips.
Oh god, that's great. Oh man, that's a topical joke, but that's a good one. Yeah. So here's the one thing that I came away with though, as far as like a sequel and maybe a whole series of movies, I hope. There's so much source material for Sonic. You have comics, you have cartoons, the video games themselves. You know, you have, like you said, Knuckles, Eggman, you have Shadow, you have Tails, Rogue.
Knuckles. I don't know if you named him.
Not Rogue, Rouge, Biggs the Cat, you know. So, I mean, you have like so many things that you could do. You know, it'd be very easy for them to, like, my personal hope is that if they do a Sonic 2, it would be like Sonic 2, the video game on Genesis, where it introduces Tails. And you could do a lot of really cool things with that. And then if you do a Sonic 3, you could introduce Knuckles. But I don't know. Getting way ahead of myself.
We need, for the next SCU movie, Toe Jam and Earl.
Dude, I would be cool with that because I love Toe Jam and Earl, and it's great. So, from one children's...
Actually, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
This is the second movie in the SCU. It's a Street Fighter movie.
Oh, yeah. And then I guess
I don't know if you technically count Sega.
You could say Wreck-It Ralph because it did have Sonic in it, but I don't know. Anyway, moving on from one children's movie to another, DCD Film Club this week, we're covering the Spongebob Squarepants movie from 2004. This was Andy's pick. I had never seen it before. Andy has it on Blu-ray. Look at that.
Yeah, I do own it on Blu-ray.
Wow. Didn't expect that. So, Andy, it's your pick. Why don't you lead off? Tell us how you felt
here's
about...
my notes for this one.
Okay, no notes.
Great video listener bit, or you say it out loud.
Oh, okay.
It's great. I love this movie.
Yeah.
It came out as a kid. I was a SpongeBob fan as a kid. Now the tables have turned, I guess. I'm the biased one now because I grew up watching this movie. This came out when I was 5.
Yeah.
I watched it when I was 5.
Okay.
And it's great. It's not like original or anything to talk about my criticisms of the Sonic movie. And I assume we're going to compare the two a bit. But the music's fantastic in it. The story is great. The jokes are great. Like the opening bit where it's a bunch of pirates going to the movie. It's fun. It's great.
Yeah, that was funny. That was funny. Yeah.
It's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, so I'm really not going to compare it to Sonic and all that. And I know it would be easy to say that. And it would also be easy for me to say, well, you know, you're biased towards this because you saw it at a young age and you were a fan of SpongeBob. And
oh, yeah, you watched Sonic movie at a young age?
No, but I'm just saying, like...
I'm kidding.
bias.
But I'm not saying it's... At the same time, yes, I'm biased. But I've seen other SpongeBob movies. And the later seasons of SpongeBob, they suck.
No,
the first 2 to 3 seasons of SpongeBob are great, and the movie's great. This one.
So I was a little bit older when SpongeBob hit the scene, and I did watch it though. And the reason I watched it was the voice actor that plays SpongeBob is Tom Kenny. And one show that I talked about earlier was Bob Odenkirk's show with David Cross, Mr. Show. Tom Kenny was, I think he was pretty much on every episode of that show. He's hilarious, by the way. And Tom Kenny, just in general, is not only a great voice actor, but he's a great comedian. Like, he's done great stand-up. He's Mr. Show. He was one of the funniest people on it. So I was definitely attracted to SpongeBob early on. As time wore on, I felt like the show grew a little stale. Just a little.
Sorry, I just thought about this. You were my age when this came out, I think.
Yes. Yes, I was 19. So, yeah, I mean, so this felt pretty fresh to me. Like, this felt like earlier SpongeBob to me. And obviously, since it was a movie, I think they kind of upped their game a little bit in terms of the writing and the jokes. And they were also able to do a little bit more with this because of, you know, presumably the budget. The opening bit really made me laugh with the pirates. I didn't know what was going on at first.
Is this your first time watching a movie?
It is. It is. I'd never seen this before. But you know, the opening bit really got me. At first I was like, what is this? Like, this is kind of weird. Yeah. And then I realized what happened. And when he opens the treasure chest and he pulls out the movie tickets, I just cracked up. And then they go in the theater and they're just so out of place when they go into the movie theater. The popcorn's flying everywhere. Like, it's slapstick humor. And I love that kind of stuff. So, like, that made me laugh too. You know, then it kicks into the movie. And while at points it did feel like, at points I felt like they were really trying to stretch SpongeBob, which is typically a 15-minute episode of a cartoon. I feel like they were trying to stretch that into an hour and a half, and it's hard to do that. But I think they did the best job that they could with it, and I did laugh a lot throughout. And I think that's kind of the whole point of SpongeBob. SpongeBob is supposed to make you laugh. It's supposed to just, like, tickle that funny bone. There's gonna be plot holes, and it doesn't take itself seriously, and that's part of the charm of it. And then I just, the very end, the musical piece with the Twisted Sister guitar riff from I Wanna Rock, and it even references the David Lee Roth remake of Just a Gigolo at one point. It references that within that musical number. And I'm never a fan of musical numbers in general, but this one just killed it. It had me laughing and just like loving it and going like, this just keeps getting funnier and funnier. Like, Patrick's wearing some crazy outfit with high heels and fishnet stockings. Yeah. And then like SpongeBob's flying around with a guitar and a wizard suit. I mean, it's just completely off the wall craziness that makes zero sense. But because it's SpongeBob, it's like, whatever. It's SpongeBob. He can just do whatever he wants. And it's only there to make you laugh. So overall, like, well, it did feel a little bit drawn out at times. You know, I did some really cool stuff with the animation, mixing that with real life, like, footage, like specifically David Hasselhoff stuff was really cool how they did that. Or even when they call him the Cyclops, the diver, when they have, you know, when they're in that, like, I guess
that's another great bit too.
Yeah, like when they're in that, I guess you would call it like a gift shop where people buy stuff it's a great mix of live action and hand-drawn animation that looks so good and so natural and so cool. I love it. There's a lot to like here. It's still a kids movie, and I would still say what I said about Sonic. Like, it's never going to win an Academy Award or anything like that. But it's just really well done. And I think this was something where I think a successful kids movie, one of the things that most people look for is something that you could take your kid to and you would enjoy it as well. And I think that if I was a parent and I took my kid to this, I'd enjoy it. I'd enjoy the ride. It wouldn't be the worst thing I watch. Like, it wouldn't be like taking my kid to, say, Frozen. Like, I would never want to sit through that, you know? So Yeah, overall, really, really cool, really well done. Love Tom Kenny. Anything he touches is generally gold, and he really does bring the SpongeBob character to life. So, overall, I gave this a 6 out of 10. I think it's worth, if you like SpongeBob at all, it's worth watching at least once.
It might not win an Oscar, but it won a People's Choice Award.
Of course it did. You know, if there was like an Academy Award for Best Kids Movie, I could see this winning.
It's basically Best Animated.
The animation was really good. You could tell they took it up a notch.
It wasn't
from the
nominated
TV
for
show.
it.
That's terrible. You could tell they took it up a notch.
List.
Because I know it is hand drawn animation, but it looked better than the TV show. So, I don't know.
10 out of 10. Fantastic movie.
10 out of 10. I don't know. Yeah, my wife.
Oh, Andy only fucking gives 10 out of 10s to his movies.
I don't even know who that is. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but I love it.
It was said once, and I've been referencing it constantly ever since.
You gave Space Odyssey. You gave 2001 Space Odyssey.
Best animated feature film for the year that it would have been nominated was, the nominations were Shrek 2, Shark Tale, and The Incredibles. That's it. And The Incredibles won, obviously.
The Incredibles is great, but
Incredibles is fantastic. But why is there only 3 nominated?
I hate to be the guy who says this because it's going to make me sound like an old guy, but I kind of do miss movies like this. Make me miss hand-drawn animation a lot.
Oh.
Or even when you go and you watch something like hand-drawn like Ponyo, it's beautiful. Like
Studio Ghibli. All their movies.
Yeah, but like Ponyo is a really good example of something that's hand-drawn. It's like friggin' beautiful. And you're like, you'd never capture this much character, this much, I don't know, it just has that feel to it. And it just...
Did you ever seen other Studio Ghibli stuff?
Some.
Yeah, Sphinx wanted to recommend one for his fan pick next week. But he's like, oh, I can't find it anywhere. He's like, he said, I've never seen this movie, but everyone talks about it. And then he recommends something else.
So I'd really like to hear what it was. I don't know. You'll have to tell me after we finish.
Oh, he wanted to recommend, what is the one called? Give me a second. Just.
All right. Well, while Andy's researching that SpongeBob SquarePants movie from 2004, definitely check it out if you like SpongeBob at all. I think we can both agree it's really good. And I liked it more than I thought I would. So, moving into my
Spirited Away.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have heard of that, but I've never watched it.
It's like in the top 15 IMDb all time.
We'll have to check it out. We'll have to see if we can find it. That might be a good future pick. Maybe I'll pick it one week. Anyway, so moving on to my pick for next week, which I actually deferred to my wife on this one because she had a really cool idea, and I really like the idea as well. And she said you should pick a film for Black History Month that is, I guess you could call it something that would be relevant to Black History Month. So the film that Ashley and I
took that
chose.
different than what you...
I'm sorry. Wait. What? How did you take it?
When you said relevant to Black History Month, I get what you meant. But at first, I thought you were going to relevant to today's times. I'm like, what movie is that?
No, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you mean now. I was a brain fart.
Yeah, Ashley was like, you should do something for Black History Month, and I was like, that's kind of cool. Like we could highlight something that maybe I've never even seen before, and maybe something that Andy hasn't seen before. So the film that we arrived on, and it's from 2013, stars Forrest Whitaker, and it has a crazy good cast. I mean, you have Oprah Winfrey in this one. Robin Williams is in this as well. There's quite a few big names in this film, and it's The Butler from 2013. and it was critically acclaimed. And it basically tells, it's loosely based on someone who was a butler in the White House through several administrations and saw a lot of things go down in American history, and you get to see it from his perspective. But there's just some crazy good cast in here, and I just couldn't think of a better film out of the ones that we were looking at, because I was like, oh my goodness, you got Oprah, John Cusack, Jane Fonda, Cuba Gooding Jr., Lenny Kravitz is in there, Mariah Carey's in this thing. I mean, it's a really great all-star cast, so looking forward to checking it. Yep, Chalky Milk time. The Butler from 2013. Stupid joke. So I'm so stupid.
You're gonna get us canceled, Alex.
How are we gonna get canceled? I mean, it's just a stupid joke about. Oh my god,
we can't hate on this movie because it's about Black history.
Nah, man. No, I'm looking forward to checking out The Butler, and I think that we'll both enjoy it. And I tried to pick something that was critically acclaimed, and there were a lot. We almost went with Malcolm X, but then I saw that it was over 3 hours long, and I was like, Ashley, we gotta find something else. So I'll watch Malcolm X some other time. Although it did look really interesting. So, yeah, that's my pick for next week.
Sorry.
Go ahead. What did you think I was going to go with?
I thought you were going to go Glory.
You know, that was on the list of films that we were looking at. It was really tough to pick just one. Like, I would encourage people, if you're wanting to look at some films that were made by African Americans, for African Americans, might be related to Black History Month in one way or another. You know, there's a couple really good lists. I think there's actually one on IMDb where it was like the top 15 or something that you could watch with your family. And I was going through the list. I'm like, man, it would be hard to pick just one of these. So quite a few to check out. And one thing I will say that I think is really cool is Vudu has a lot of these films on sale right now because of Black History Month. So you can get some of these great films at great prices and watch them with your family and maybe learn something. So that's always something cool about the film industry, if you can learn something as well. Another one that I almost picked because I watched it and it was just such a powerful film was 42. And that one covers Jackie Robinson's baseball career. It's a really, really good film. Really well done. Anyway, The Butler next week. Looking forward to it. So
it is on Amazon $3.99, Vudu $3.99, YouTube and iTunes for $7.99.
Well,
those racist companies.
I always wonder why it's like so much more on some platforms. But go to Vudu.
It's because you probably can only buy it on iTunes and you can rent it on Vudu and Prime, but you can only buy it on YouTube and iTunes. That's
weird. That's almost unheard of, honestly, but boy, you're right, it's not on there. That's crazy to me. I guess you might have to go on Movies Anywhere if you want to get a digital version.
Arr.
No, don't pirate. Don't pirate. So anyway, moving on to sports. So we have one sports topic this week, and I'm sure Andy's really looking forward to talking about, and that is the proposed MLB playoff rule changes. And I'll quickly go over those. The things that are apparently on the table are the MLB is considering making the wild card game would go away. The wild card game would become a series. But with that, there would be 7 playoff teams in the American League and the National League instead of 5 each. The first round would become a best 2 of 3. The top seed in each league would get a bye. And teams with the best records would pick their own opponents in a Bachelor-style reality TV show. So, I already made my feelings on this on Twitter very well known.
Did you now?
I did. So, Andy, I'll let you lead off. How do you feel about these rule changes?
Well, contrary to what you think, I think it's stupid.
Okay.
My reason to think it's stupid, I think the top seed in each league, I get, like, the bye part, cool. Byes don't matter in baseball. It's not football. Football, byes matter because of rest, preparation. It's a sport where you have to actually prepare for your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying baseball you don't have to prepare for your opponent. I'm not saying it doesn't take a long time to prepare. You know what I mean? So the bye's kind of stupid. First round being best of 3 is great because there's been some wacky wild card things happen before. And then teams with the best record picking their opponent. Why not? If you want to get like the All-Star draft in the NBA, something like reality TV in sports. Good old tradition, you know.
Yep.
But the 7 teams instead of 5 thing is my main point, and why it's stupid is because there's not 7 contending teams in each league. In like there usually each year there's a clear favorite. Baseball is not like other sports. There's 162 games. By the time you hit the playoffs, you know who's contending, you know who's not contending. And pretty much every year there's like 2 to 3 teams in each league that are contending. You never have there's never a time where you're like, oh, this team didn't make the playoffs. They could have won it all. I can't remember a single time that's ever happened. I think it's stupid. It's gonna make the playoffs less. It's gonna add meaningless baseball to the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
Like the reason the MLB postseason is so fantastic, same with like the NHL postseason, is anything can happen, and when there's not that many teams, you have basically good teams against good teams throughout the entire playoffs. There's always like a weak link, obviously, but adding more teams, there'd be more than one weak link.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just stupid, and it would basically make the first couple rounds of playoffs dumb. Because everybody's going to know that, let's say hypothetically in today's age, everyone knows that the Dodgers and the Yankees are probably going to make the World Series.
Yeah.
And there's like 2 or 3 teams outside that could potentially upset them. There's not a buttload of teams out there that can do it.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I know my opinion is going to be unpopular, but all right. So, number 1, 7 teams instead of 5. Dumbest thing I've ever heard. If you go and we implement that last year, 2 teams in the American League would make the playoffs with a losing record. Let that sink in for a second. I know what you're going to say. Well, not you, Andy, but I know what proponents of this would say. Well, doesn't it make it more exciting? Yeah, until a team with a losing record wins the World Series and you go, wow, this team couldn't even win most of their games in the regular season.
That's going to take a 1,000 years.
I know, you're right, but just hear me out. I'm just saying it's ridiculous. The premise itself is ridiculous because it would lead to teams that have losing records making the playoffs. I don't like it. I'll be honest with you, I'm still kind of sort of lukewarm on the idea of the 5th wild card team and game 163 sending it. So like yeah. I'm already still lukewarm on that idea. I love the old format where it was 1 wild card team in the AL, 1 wild card team in the NL, and that was really balanced to me because it would allow someone from the AL East generally to get into the playoffs because the Yankees or the Red Sox would run away with the division, or
a team that is unfortunately in a stacked division.
Yeah. Like, or
whenever there's teams that like make the playoffs when they're in a terrible division, like the AL Central, for example.
For example, the NL East can be pretty stacked at times. There have been times where the Marlins, Braves, and the Mets were all good in the 90s. There were also times more recently where the Nationals, Braves, and maybe the Phillies or the Mets have all been good in one year, and it's good to see those two get there. Lately, the NL Central has been, a division that's needed the wild card, specifically with Milwaukee, St. Louis, and Chicago. I'm okay with one. Like I said, I'm still kind of lukewarm on the idea of Game 163, but I acquiesce because so many fans really enjoy that one-off wild card game, and we have had some exciting baseball come out of it. So I'm okay with 5, but let's not expand it to 7. I hate that one. Wild card game going away. Again, I'm okay with that rule. If they want to make it a best 2 out of 3, that's fine.
If they just made the current structure wild card best 2 out of 3, I'd be fine with that.
It would also give the other 4 teams a little bit of rest, which I think would help create better playoff.
Yeah, I thought about this
baseball.
when you were talking about the bye week point.
Yeah.
The teams that get byes, all their pitchers will be fresh.
Yeah.
In the first couple of games of that series, they're going to be just destroying.
They're going to be roasting people.
And also they're going to be top tier teams, so they're already going to have 99.9% of the time a top tier rotation.
Yeah, and a top seed getting a bye. I think Andy just kind of gave the reason why that's a bad idea. But being that I'm against 7 teams in the playoffs, I think it goes without saying that I'm against this because it only works if you have 7 teams in the playoffs. And then teams with the best record picking their opponents. I hate this idea. I know some people like it. I know some people hate it. Some people don't even care. But I don't think this would help the sport at all. Like, I don't see players wanting to do it. That's number one. I
think it'd be like managers or GMs.
I don't see managers wanting to do it either. And one manager put it best. I don't know if he put his name on it or if he kept himself unnamed. But he said, the last thing I want to do as a manager is motivate another team and give them bulletin board material. And I totally get that. And I don't think that players, because generally the players like each other. Okay, sometimes there's rivalries and sometimes it does get personal.
I mean, there's fake rivalries too.
Yeah, there's fake rivalries too. But like, let's be real. A lot of these guys, they know each other, they respect each other, and they don't want to disrespect one another. And the last thing they want to do is get on TV and say, well, I want to play, I'm just picking a name, the Pirates, because I think we'll beat them terribly. Well, what if your buddy's on the Pirates? Like, you don't want to do that. Nobody wants to do that. And I don't think fans even want to watch this. So I don't get it. To me, it's like some weird bizarro land thing that by the way, out of everything that's in this list, I think it's the least likely thing to happen. I think it's the most unrealistic thing to happen.
Yeah. How many people watch the All-Star draft? I don't watch it.
I just can't imagine players wanting to do it. I feel like if they had to do it, they'd get up there and everybody would know these guys don't want to be there. They don't want to be doing this, And it's like sometimes when you watch the media day before a Super Bowl and you can tell some players are like, dude, I just do not want to do this. I do not want to be here. I want to be concentrating on football. And I got to sit here and answer the same question a billion times from a billion different reporters. You
see Tyreek Hill at Unrelated?
No.
They were like trying to get him to talk smack about Richard Sherman. And he was like, all right, listen up. You're the GOAT, man. I appreciate everything you do for the sport.
Yeah. Like, they don't want to bag on each other.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes...
Media wants them to, though.
Yeah, but that's just not real, dude. It's just not... Like, even professionally, like, I've worked in a lot of jobs where it's very competitive. And even with that competition, even though I wanted to beat the pants off of my peers, I still respected them. And I never wanted to trash talk them. And, like, watch the UFC. Those guys are practically killing each other in the octagon. And more often than not, they get
Conor
out
McGregor, it's the best example.
They get out of the octagon, the fight's over, and there's respect. They don't sit there and downplay each other and talk garbage. Now, sometimes that does happen, right?
No, Connor, for example, he talks big game, talks trash, but he's the most humble. He's the most humble guy in the UFC after the fight. He is always like, "Yeah, he's a great fighter."
Yeah.
What can I say?
Yeah, I mean, there's respect there. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
And if you've played sports competitively at any level, even in high school wrestling, man, you know, like you'd fight 3 rounds with a guy and it'd be knocked down, drag out, and the guy beats you or you beat him. You respect the guy after it. You don't want to sit there and talk garbage about him. Like, that's just not real. Like, you know, competitors generally respect each other. And I just don't think that this is a good thing for the sport. I don't think it would be a good thing in the NBA, the NFL, NHL, period. But the NHL needs no help with their playoffs. It's the best playoffs in sports. But
NHL, yeah. NHL's great. I love it.
Yeah.
I just thought of something. There's another thing we haven't mentioned. The fans' endpoint, if teams pick their opponents.
Yeah.
What if, like, the number 1 seed, Dodgers, for example, because they're the best team in baseball, in my opinion, right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say the Dodgers pick, I don't know, the Cardinals, and they lose. And all the fans were like, "Oh, if we picked the Cubs, we would have won."
It's bad for the sport.
If we picked the Cubs. And then it'd be like the Saints fans all over again. We're like, "Oh, if we picked the Cubs, we would have won it all."
Yeah. I don't like it. Not a fan. I think.
Did you expect me to be approving of this?
Honestly, I thought there was one. So I thought that you would be okay with the first round being 2 of 3. I didn't think that you would like any of the others.
Yeah, first round, aka the wild card games, the best of 1 series. You know, game 161 or 161, 163. Yeah, best 2 of 3, because there's also like a lot of luck in baseball. You want the better team to win that series. And if it's best of 1 series, there's some wacky things that can happen.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, let's not forget, I had somebody, when I talked about this on Twitter, I did have one person reach out and say, like, well, I would watch if they shorten the season to 50 games, but that wouldn't work, because when you look at baseball, baseball is weird. It's an individual sport under the guise of a team sport. That's number 1. Number 2 is you need that large sample size to truly determine who the best squads are. Because teams go on runs, injuries happen, teams wear down, you name it. Like, a lot happens in those 162 games.
Every game matters despite what fans think.
Exactly. And I think to really, truly determine who the best teams are, we do need a 3-game series instead of a one-off. To be fair, though, devil's advocate here, you would say, well, then win your division. That's true, too.
It's the same point.
That's true, too. But
bad officiating, I constantly, like, you shouldn't put yourself in a situation where bad officiating decides the game.
Yeah, it just, like, the thing to me about Game 163 that I don't like is there can always be a fluke. You know, like, how many times have you seen a team with the best offensive lineup in baseball and they get like 2 hit or something, you know?
Yeah, I think it was last year, 2 years ago, when the Rockies upset the Cubs.
Yeah, Cubs fans were livid. I'd be too. I mean, imagine playing 162 games, you win the wild card, and then you end up going home because somebody
just because you're unfortunately in a division. And if you were in any other division, you'd be in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think the answer is more teams, but I do think expanding the wild card round to a best 2 of 3 would be really cool. Every other thing on this list is just ridiculous to me, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, there you go. That's going to be it for DCD 68. As always, I want to remind you, you can buy a DCD t-shirt. Link in the description on the audio and the video versions. If you buy a t-shirt, it gives us $6 to help the podcast running, and you get a shirt. So That's pretty cool. In addition, we do have a Patreon. You go to patreon.com/DCD podcast, and you can support the podcast for as little as $1 a month. Gives you early access to submit pick for every third week, the Patreon pick.
Every third.
For DCD Film Club, and all kinds of other perks. If you go there, you can see all the different tiers, but it starts at $1 a month, or a quarter an episode is how I like to break it down. And I want to thank our current Patreon backers. We got Dumbest Sphinx in the Egg tier, Bobby in the Andy tier, and Jared and Daniel in the Gold tiers. Thank you for supporting the show. You guys quite literally pay for the cost, so we appreciate it. And yeah, you can also subscribe to us on YouTube, or tell a friend about the show. That's free, and it's a great way to support us as well. And then finally, if you're wondering if we're on another platform, all you got to do is head over to deadchannelduo.com, and at the very top, there's a link to every single platform that we're on. We're on almost everything now, so definitely check that out. But before we get out of here, Andy, anything else you want to say before we wrap up episode 68?
Missed topic, Billie Eilish's new Bond theme. Generic like every other Bond theme in Daniel Craig's repertoire and his films of Bond. Did you check it out?
No, I haven't yet, but I will say this. I'm going to disagree with you because Casino Royale, they used Chris
it's
Cornell.
pretty much like Adele's. Like ever since Adele and then Sam Smith's awful Bond theme.
Chris Cornell did the best
decent,
Bond
though.
theme. His was the best by far.
But ever since Adele's,
Yeah,
everyone's trying to copy it.
that's fair. The
Beatles Bond theme, I can argue, is the best.
Okay, maybe. That's fair. You could probably make that argument. I just like the Cornell one because I'm a big Soundgarden fan. And I love Cornell's solo work too. So.
And then, last note, rest in peace, Fed Smoker. Keep on feathering it, brother.
All right, well, rest in peace. And that's going to do it for DCD 68. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. Bye.